You see here the post on the Reds, BLT sub, and let's get it up on full. And let's play this.
With brands, have you had any like problems with employees or with like brands, or like have you issues that you had to like overcome?
Not really. I mean, I'm trying to think. When I was at Showtime and I got COVID, they wanted to fire me because I got COVID. This is like,
how do you fire someone for getting COVID?
Oh, I was like, good luck. Like the lawsuit, is that in my contract? Good luck. But shout out to.
But why would they fire you if you had COVID? I don't get it.
One of the lawyers just had it out for me that worked for CBS Showtime and was like, oh, this is the reason we can fire him. So they got on the horn. They had like this big meeting, and my boss Brian Day was like, dude, it's not good. You got COVID. I'm like, what's that have to do with anything, dude? I feel great. He's like, that's the problem. You're advocating that COVID's not that bad. God. I'm like, dude, I don't feel bad. My cardio got better. And he started laughing. I'm like, no, I'm serious, dude. I ride my bike every day.
Challenge.
Yeah, I was like, I feel great, man.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't say that. I was like, bro, if you fire me though, like, where's in my contract? It says if I get COVID, you can let me go. Like, that's.
You remember the Rogan thing when they was it on CNN? They put him and he did.
Okay, that might be one of the most insane lies I've ever heard in my entire life. Because again, think about it. With Brendan, there's always an element. There's always a kernel of truth. Always a kernel of truth when it comes to Brendan. So I didn't know this is true, but think back to when this happened with him getting COVID. I think, looking back at the whole timeline of Brendan Schaub's hate train, there was a point in time when he got hated on, when the whole Fox deal was up, when he started presenting stuff on E and dyed his hair white, and then I would say the COVID times, and maybe later on with the Bobby Lee stuff. But there's been several points, several key parts along the way of fucking Brendan's journey where people say, okay, cool, that's when the hate train intensified. And in my opinion, one of the main parts of his story where the hate train did get fucking crazy was COVID. Because if you remember correctly, during the whole COVID times, lockdown, whatever, Brendan and Brian and that whole group of LA guys, not even the whole group of LA guys, just Brendan and Brian and Chappelle, Malik, all those dudes, for some reason, they were one of the first and only comedians that were touring, like publicly and actually posting it. Some probably were doing it on a sly, but they were actually talking about dates and going places. Like, they didn't want to get locked down. They didn't want to give up their fucking comedy gig monies and shit. They were not having it. They hated COVID. They hated it from the minute zero. Not because they didn't think it was overblown or they thought the precautions were not necessary. No, they hated it because it prevented them from going on the road. Because most of those guys, before COVID, didn't spend any time at home. They hated being at home. They hate their children. They hate their wives, really. They love being on the road. They want to go to random comedy clubs and they want to fucking finger bang waitresses in the fucking toilets, do coke off the fucking bathrooms and shit and hang out. That's what they want to do. It's okay. And you make money doing it. But when COVID came around, it forced them all to stay at home. It also forced them not to be able to go to comedy clubs and perform. And they all fucking had a fucking visceral reaction to it, like, no, we can't let that happen. So they all fought tooth and nail to go and fucking perform. And Brendan and Brian were the first ones to go do it. And if you remember correctly, Brendan and Brian were also incredibly skeptical of COVID in the first place, right? They were like, it's a hoax, it's overblown, it's just a cold. That's the thing he's not saying. He was one of those people that was saying COVID was just a cold. Because even if you are a COVID denier, you have to admit in the beginning of COVID, at the start of it, when we were seeing the Chinese people fucking throwing bodies in the back of fucking trucks and shit, right? And morgues and funeral, funeral places were running out of room and shit, and they were burning bodies, in open fucking fields in fucking parts of India. COVID in the beginning was fucking crazy, right? People were dying all over the place. I remember when it spread to Europe, because there's parts of like Mediterranean Europe and Mediterranean countries, and Central Europe countries where traditionally a lot of the families live in the same buildings. I know a lot of my Spanish friends, a lot of my French friends, Italian friends are the same, where they have these houses where, your grandma lives in the ground floor, your dad and parents live in the first floor, you live maybe on the second floor, but it's all like that, right? Families are all like that. So I remember when COVID spread across Europe, it fucking decimated, it fucking went through Italy and Spain like a fucking flamethrower, because all of these old people were living in these houses, with loads of people in it, and it was fucking getting spread everywhere, like, quickly. So clearly in the beginning it was an issue, and everyone was obviously being a little bit scared for it because we didn't know what was going on. No one had the vaccine. Everyone was locked down. These guys were going on the road aggressively, aggressively going on the road. And as Hectic First Channel said, oh yeah, big up Hectic First Channel, good to see you, brother. They refused to do Zoom stand-up. I remember that being a thing. They thought they were above doing Zoom. They couldn't do Zoom. They hated it. They hated doing Zoom remotely. And if I remember correctly also, Brendan and Brian were like COVID deniers. They didn't think it was a big deal. They thought it was a cold. They also caught COVID loads of times. I think there was one particular occasion Brendan went to do stand-up and got COVID and kind of infected his whole family. Yeah, in the beginning, right? They all caught COVID. Brian got COVID twice and he nearly died. He looked like he actually was close to death. And all that stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was the reason why the Showtime executive said he nearly got fired because of COVID. Because he's trying to make it seem like he got fired because he got COVID and that was it. No, he nearly got fired because of COVID at Showtime because he was pushing the whole anti-vax thing. He kept getting it and kept making it seem like it wasn't a big deal. There was a big controversy about Brendan getting COVID and not doing the whole, what's that thing do when you get COVID? What's that thing called? You're meant to do, what's that thing called? You're meant to, what's that thing you meant to do? Is it stay safe? You're meant to do COVID. You're meant to kind of go on this like 7-day thing, right? And I think Brendan didn't do that. I think he got COVID and he just posted a picture of himself the next day cycling. Yeah, quarantine. Sorry. Thank you, John Smith. Do you remember? That was a big controversy. And I think websites, I think maybe MMA websites or some news websites posted Brendan on their page. Like he was written up on an article that he got COVID and he came back and he didn't fucking quarantine. He just went straight up on his e-bike and started posting pictures of himself on the fucking mountains having a good time. Honestly, like that's probably why he nearly got fired. That's the thing I'm saying to you. Brendan's pathological ability to lie is stupendous because there's always a kernel of truth in his lies. Yes, he nearly got lied because of COVID, but not because he just got COVID and he's an innocent bunny. No, because he was pushing anti-vax fucking propaganda and nonsense. He was minimizing the virus. He was spreading it everywhere. He was performing comedy even though there was strict lockdowns in places and whatever it may be. He didn't care about the rules. He was doing he was doing meet and greets. Do you guys remember? At the peak of COVID, Brendan was doing meet and greets. God bless those people who were fucking at the peak of COVID when we were all scared. Now we're not scared. Now we all know it's a fucking hoax. We're not a hoax. We know it's fucking overblown. We know that, you know, there was a lot of fucking, you know, weird shit that went into the vaccine. It was rushed, all that malarkey. We know it was fucking lab made, all this stuff, right? We all know this now. But at the time, we were scared of it, right? And I know for me, the last place that I wanted to be at where the peak of COVID was at a fucking comedy club. I don't want to fucking die, you know, with my fucking head in a bowl of fucking fries with a fucking warm glass of fucking Coca-Cola next to me. No, thank you. Especially listening to fucking Brendan and Brian tell jokes. So God bless those people who did go out to see them perform during COVID. I hope it was worth it because I could have never done it. You know what I mean? The only thing I would have done during COVID is maybe gone and seen, you know, Bert Kreischer do those fucking parking lot things, right? Those tailgate shows. I might have done that. But go and see Brendan and Brian at the fucking Laugh Factory, at the fucking Ice House. Like, are you having this? Are you fucking joking? So yeah, I love how he doesn't really expand it, give you context, but that basically what happened. And if you want more context on it, there's actually a good little summary video here that I'm going to play, where they actually surmise what actually happened during that whole time, where everyone hated them for COVID. And somebody posted some funny kid a couple of years ago, which is really, really good. There we go. Here we go. We got it here. Dangerously, yeah, it's called, yeah, this is a go. Dangerously stupid COVID deniers, right? This is fucking incredible video. This is a good way to kind of give us an indication of how these guys were when COVID was happening.
Again, I'm a numbers guy.
Maybe 70% of the people are asymptomatic, but they can still pass it on. So that can be a problem, right? If you have that, a lot of old people, a lot of people at risk, you would have overrun hospitals.
Yeah, like the flu.
It is different. It is different. So we have to be sensitive
flu
to that.
Kills more, but yeah, sure.
You know, when
this Corona lockdown has me feeling all gay. There's this theory, right? There's a million theories. So these whole peaking things that notice nothing's peaking right now. And they keep going, okay, not this next week, and keep moving the goal line.
most people do not have this virus in the United States.
But even if they,
Actually, let's read it. Up to 60% of Americans are expected to get it within the year.
Well, no, the odds are, most people don't. But even if you have it, it's
the people that get 10
to 20 to 30% need to be hospitalized permanently to health damage as possible. Actually, you can read it anyway. You guys can see the words.
And I give you the stats that I gave you this morning of 97% of people who do get it are fine.
Yeah.
The percentage how deadly it really isn't.
Yeah.
And then I tell you, most of
the contagion level, by the way.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
So can I just say to everybody, measles has a contagion level of between 12 and 18. What that means is that between 12 and 18 people can catch it if you're around them. Highly contagious. Smallpox killed so many people through the 20th century and before, a contagion level of 3.5 to 6. Measles renders you sterile if you're a boy, usually, and led to pneumonia and all kinds of terrible things.
Horrible virus.
Smallpox was deadly in many cases and left scarring and everything else. Horrible way to die. Common cold has a contagion level of between 2 and 3. Seasonal strains of influenza are reported to have a contagion level of 0.9 to 2.1. Now,
that's the flu.
The early data on COVID-19 estimates are between 1.4 and 3.9. It's
Look
just
at the fucking numbers.
It's irresponsible.
It really is.
It's
and
irresponsible.
You're putting fear into everybody.
Yeah, and I know
involved.
there are people listening right now who are like, "You have no idea." No, I do have an idea.
You
Yeah,
have no
I do.
idea.
Yeah.
I know stats, and it's pretty black and white.
But is it that much of a risk?
No, that's what I'm saying. Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And these numbers, this isn't something me and Brian made up.
No.
These are the same numbers that any news outlet you're watching, they're spinning super negative. They're using these numbers.
Yeah, and
what's the what risk are you taking?
Yeah.
Again, I'm a numbers guy.
Yo, honestly, this might have been one of the most like biggest own goals they've ever done, honestly, in terms of a fan base. Because imagine how divisive and how political fucking COVID was, how emotional it was for people, right? I know friends of mine who weren't able to fucking see their parents or their grandparents passing away when in the hospital because there was weird protocols around who could be in hospitals and whatnot. There's people that probably didn't get particular procedures because of the waiting lines and the queues and the fact that COVID people were the ones that pushed forward in the fucking queue and shit. There was loads of things that happened during COVID that were really hurtful. People lost their jobs, lost their families, relationships probably broke down, I'm sure, for people having to stay at home for so long. Loads of things happened. But the one thing that bothered comedians the most, right, was that the fact that they couldn't perform on stage. That's the one reason why. Do you remember, like, also, I think for me, I fell out of love with a lot of comedy kind of podcasts and stuff because they were talking about COVID every single fucking day. It got so tiring because you actually wanted to go to these comedians to get a fucking break from reality, right? You didn't want to be constantly reminded about how horrible and dark it was outside and the fact that maybe your life may not be the same again. But they kept talking about the restrictions, the lockdowns, the this, the that, this controversy, ivermectin, mitochondrial, whatever that fucking thing is. They couldn't fucking stop. Myocarditis, sorry. Remember myocarditis or whatever that thing is, right? I just kept hearing these guys mentioning COVID every fucking day. And it was so fucking brain-numbingly boring. But also on top of this, or also, as Brendan will say, he was saying all this shit. He was talking from a point of authority like he knew what he was talking about. And in the process, alienating a part of his fan base that probably were a bit COVID scared. They were worried about their parents and shit. And hearing him just dismiss everything, yo, that was such a big own goal. But I actually want to play the last video here. The clip of fucking Brian looking like he's about to die. That's one of my favorite ones during the whole COVID thing. Let me see if I've got it on the screen where he clearly looked like he was about to die. Let me see if I got it. There's the one. Yeah, I got it. I'm sorry to play this. This is fucking incredible. Brian talking about getting COVID and how he changed his mind and maybe it is a serious thing and it's it's not fucking bad thing. Let's see. Let's play it. Look at Brendan. Look at Brian. he looked like he's been in a fucking 7-8 round fight with fucking Bud over the weekend, isn't it? He looked like he got fucked up. Not Spence. Let's play this.
From what I've heard, that's good. But I wasn't as responsible as I could be.
Well, you put out a PSA, which I thought was very responsible, telling your fans if you fist bumped me,
yep,
or if I fingered you, something like.
Yeah.
No, well, you really.
Yeah, well, too little, too late. Too little, too late, though.
Right.
The problem is I've been such a vocal critic of the shutdown. I'm sort of, looking at the stats and saying that it's not so deadly, but that's beside the point. The problem is it's disruptive. When you get it, you're on your back. Look, I'm pretty healthy, man, and it's 7 days, and I don't feel like doing anything.
Look at his face. Look how fucked up he looks. Honestly, man. Rinks, man. He joined in fucking Brendan. And if I'm not mistaken, Brendan got it like 3 times. Once he spread it to his family. Once he gave it to Chin. Right? He gave it to Chin, and that was pretty wild, and he didn't want to admit it. So he fucking broke he broke Chin's neck. He didn't want to pay for his fucking medical cost. Then he gave him fucking COVID and nearly took him out. Then Callen got it for listening to Brendan. Brendan really is the fucking... He was the, he was the fucking super spreader.
And some people fall off a cliff after day 7 with men, for whatever reason. Men can have like a bad turn at like a week. So, but for the most part, we know if you're under 74 without coexisting morbidities, you're going to be okay eventually.
Oh, really?
The problem is,
really?
You're still exposing other people, and that's the part that I wasn't very responsible for.
How many were in the crowd on those nights that you were playing?
Over 300.
Wow. By the way,
including the night we got an Amber Alert.
Honestly, you niggas out there must have been so desperate for fucking a distraction that you would go to see fucking Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub do comedy. All 300 of you in these clubs during COVID. I don't know about you, but when COVID was happening at its peak, I was one of those fucking big pussies that was staying at home. I was fucking, what's that thing called? What's that phrase? I had that phrase on my fucking wall. Stay safe, save lives. I was that guy. I was one of those losers. I was stay safe, save lives. I had that fucking, I bought one of those shields from Amazon. I bought one of those fucking plastic shield things, right? I was wiping down my groceries with antibacterial sprays, thinking I'm doing something, like thinking, you know what I mean? I was in the shops, like with my fucking, my social distancing in the shops. Like you have to stay within arm's distance and shit. I was one of those fucking losers, so I couldn't imagine breaking fucking COVID and going outside to go and watch a comedy show. I couldn't imagine it, honestly. But, maybe some people would look at me and think I was a pussy. So, it is what it is.
On our phone, as I was driving to the club, I got
Super Jello. AZ did a line of his shield. Yeah, I might have actually done it. I might have actually gone. I think there might be. Oh, actually, I think I deleted it. I think I might delete it. I think there might be a live stream of me. I think I might delete it. I think there might be a live stream of me DJing with my mask on or something. I went to Pirate Studios and I had a fucking face mask on with gloves DJing because I was scared about. But here I am in this studio that's fucking got no ventilation, that's soundproofed. But I'm worried. But it's like, what? Yeah, exactly. People would get mad if he's 6 foot. Exactly. Honestly, COVID was such a crazy time, man. We were all fucking going crazy. Like, I mean,
what looked like an Amber Alert, which was to say that in this county, cases have spiked immeasurably, and so 90 people canceled. But I got a show, and the problem is I'm on stage, I'm doing a show like we all were, and when you come off stage,
like we all were. Look at this snitch. Don't knock and snitch on people. That's what I didn't like about them. When they were doing shows and they were getting called out for it, they were like, yeah, but it's not just us. They're doing it too. No. Don't point and fucking snitch at others. Just take your licks when you need to take them and keep it moving. Or if you don't care, just say fuck yourself and keep it moving. They were just knocking on everybody around them. But it's not us. They're doing it. They've got shows. He's showing too. It's like, no. Shh. Come on, bro. Don't be a fucking Randall.
The only way to the green room is through a crowd of people screaming and shouting and standing up. So what happens is you're walking through a COVID cloud. Again.
Look at Brian's face. You were good to look at him. Look at how awful he looks. Look how sunken in his face. So that is a guy on death's door. Fucking hell. COVID absolutely humbled this man, and it humbled him good and proper.
And I take full responsibility for that.
The droplets, the aerosols.
I'm not waiting for a vaccine. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's what happened. So basically, that end bit, what he said there, right?
Droplets, the aerosols.
I'm not waiting for a vaccine.
So basically, I think that was the main problem with these guys. They didn't want to give up their, live comedy gig, checks and shit, which they all become accustomed to. But they also have an extreme nut to cover monthly. Because I think Brian might have been divorced at that time. He pays like 20 grand per month in alimony or something crazy, right? And maybe it's including child support. I'm not really too sure. But most comedians outgoing, especially in LA, that's an expensive place, is crazy. So they really couldn't afford to sit down. They couldn't afford to stay safe and save lives. They needed to work. They needed the money to keep up, their fucking Tesla payments and keep the house and whatnot, keep their kids going to fucking Sierra Nevada, wherever that fucking private school is. Like, the pressure on these guys during COVID must have been absolutely crazy. I can't imagine how high it must have been, man. So, I get the fucking thing about that. And then let's play this one too. This is another COVID one. There's so many COVID ones here I want to play for you guys because I fucking love these. These are fucking good little throwbacks. And then we're gonna move on to the chin stuff. Let's play this one as well. Oh wow, this is on the subreddit called "I'm a total piece of shit." Okay, cool. They've got this on the "I'm a total piece of shit." Fucking look, mega fan. You're my COVID now. Hilarious. They've got this post on I'm a total piece of shit subreddit. Look at this. It's fucking beautiful, mate. Absolutely love this. So let's get this on here. Oh look, we got the cat there. Big up cat. Long time no see. Is Cat still on OnlyFans? Is she still doing it? I don't know. I think someone said she wasn't, right? Is Cat still killing on OnlyFans or she quit that? That cat arc was interesting. Actually, you know what? Credit to Cat also. Cat's a fucking is a good girl because she left and didn't do the whole BGO going on a fucking hate tour and, saying all fucking Brian and Brendan's business. She left classy and just kept her mouth shut and is doing her thing and has been left alone. She did well not to kind of get herself in the mud and start going on shows and start going on streams talking and shit. So big up her, man, for just keeping quiet. Oh, Uche says she definitely is on OnlyFans still. Okay, cool. She definitely still there. Fair play. But yeah, let's play this clip. She definitely still is on OnlyFans.
We've been talking a big fucking game like idiots. We've been fucking like blah, 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 blah about COVID. Now both of us have it.
Look at that post on the top right. This is one of Brendan's posts, right? And Brendan also refused to be humble. I think Brian was a bit more humble about it when he got COVID. Brendan was still being arrogant and not wanting to admit that maybe he got it wrong. Look at Brendan's post there. He's doing that sassy clapping thing in between words, right? Cases don't matter, only deaths. Figure it the fuck out or hide in your house while everyone else is going back to normal. Educate yourself and look at the declining deaths. 7,000 people died in America, not from corona. These guys are so angry. They wanted to get outside. They wanted to get away from their families so badly.
I'm fucked up. I deserve it.
At least you got the big UFC this weekend. Hopefully we'll be able to do a fight campaign with Rogan.
Could I have been more careful coming back? Yes. And I wasn't, and I apologize.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to do a fight campaign with Rogan.
No, sure.
And we're live. The COVID crew cannot make it. Brendan Schaub is 100%. He even tested negative.
So I took 2 tests last week. I keep calling, where's my results? And they go, oh, sorry, buddy. Well, we lost the results, so we need you to come back in.
Brendan Schaub is 100%. He even tested negative.
So I took 2 tests last week. Well, we lost the results, so we need you to come back in.
Tested negative.
Well, we lost the results.
You're a bald-faced liar.
Imagine lying so you could go and see Rogan. I always say this, and I'll say it again. Brendan Schaub loves Joe Rogan more than he loves his own dad. And when the day does come that fucking Rogan hits the can, he's going to cry in a way you guys would never believe on air. It's going to be fucking crazy. He's going to be having snot running down his face. He's going to be fucking shaking in his chair and shit. It's going to make the Crystalia thing seem like a walk in the park. I guarantee you. Watch. When Rogan hits the can, the way he's going to cry,